what's the point? There's no stakes because everybody doesn't really die. It literally doesn't make any sense. Hi, I'm Sherry, and I love reading books, but I don't love spending all my rent money on books. So I love borrowing from my best friend Libby. Welcome to my channel. Now, this rant is better suited to people who already tried to get through the Crescent City series and just need a place to complain. So I'm linking a fantastic summary below in the description box that has everything you need to know, but without the painful dialogue and unnatural snarkiness that Bryce has. My extremely quick summary is this. There's a super obnoxious girl named Bryce who's obsessed with her best friend Danica, who's been brutally murdered. That's that's basically how you can go about everything. Um, in general, this review will 100% exist with spoilers, but like I'm really not getting into it all. Like you could probably read the books after I go through this because you're still not really going to know what happens, but there will be spoilers. Just warning you in case you for some reason like want to listen to this review where I just make fun of and go crazy about all the Crescent series books without actually having read it, if that's interesting to you. So let's begin. Oh, yeah. Also, there's like angels, demon, fae, werewolves, mer people. Like, that's also kind of part of it, which is actually fun. Why am I doing this? Um, I'm terrified. Like, fans of these series are obsessed. It's like saying you hate Taylor Swift. Suddenly, you're surrounded by hordes of diehard fans who are just ready to rip you limb from limb for daring to say something bad about their coveted hero. But really, I just need to do this because I'm not letting anyone I love in my life read this book. Nobody is getting this recommendation. Actually, my friend already came to me and she was like, "Hey, do you recommend Crescent series?" And I was like, "No, period." But I'm making this for all the fans out there so you can tell me what you loved about this book. Like I need to know because why was this a bestseller? Why are people obsessed? I don't understand. So, let's start with the setting. I think the setting was actually supposed to be a selling point, but I hated it. It's basically a fusion of magic, witches, and stuff like that. There was like otherworldliness and things, but with tech. Like they had powers, but they also had cars and cell phones. But I'm so sorry. It just kept taking me out every single time they mentioned. She'd put on her stilettos and her leggings and her sports bra and her lacy red underwear. And it was just so modern day times. And it just kept taking me out of the book and being like, wait, where am I? Am I just in New York City or something? Because that's what it felt like. And no, I want to be in a fantasy book. Bryce literally orders an oat matcha latte. Like that's just I was like, "No, why are you doing this?" It's like I feel like you're doing it on purpose because people are gonna like it, but I don't understand. I don't get it. I did not enjoy it. Maybe if it was written better and I actually liked the characters, maybe I would have liked it more, but I it was not a selling point for me. If it sounds interesting to you, then go ahead and check it out. It's definitely unique in that way. Like I don't really see many fusions like that. Like there's low fantasy where, somebody modern day discovers that they're a witch, but there's not like this was an otherworldly fantasy, another world, another planet entirely, but with all the things that we know and recognize. Now, the characters. Ugh, the characters. Well, I should say there were basically two characters in this entire book because every single male was the same and every single female was the same. That's it, literally. Everyone is described exactly the same, like muscles on muscles and muscles. And every single person's beautiful. Like it's actually just hilarious at one point, like when another character gets introduced and, oh, this person's also so stunning and also so beautiful. It's like, at what point are you just like, okay, everybody just looks the same. Let's just go move along. Nothing to see here because there literally is nothing to see here. Oh, gosh, every single girl's got an ample backside, literally. Like you're telling me that's true? Like that's just not true. In real life, girls are working years to try to build up their booty to look really good, like a little plump peach. But in this book, every person's already perfect looking. Even people have been imprisoned their entire life, living in a tank with a feeding tube inside them, all of a sudden get out and they're like super strong and have muscles. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. It just really, really bothered me. Maybe that was like the magical aspect. Like everybody just happens to have an element of beauty. Maybe they're all Vilas. I don't know. They all basically act the same too. They have the same personality. Like I can read a conversation and not have any idea who said what because they all just sound the same. Literally in book 3, Rune, who is a character that hopefully you know because you read the books or read the summary, is talking to Lydia and he calls her like sweetheart condescendingly. He's never done that before. It's so not his type to do, but he just does it. But that's a Hunt thing. It's like, what are you trying to be, Hunt? Who also, by the way, has no personality except loving Bryce and Shahar at one point. But like, it doesn't make any sense. Make it make sense. But it's like she had this one idea for a character and she's like, well, everyone just has to act like that all the time, always. So that just bothered me like crazy. Another thing is the main character, Bryce, is like needlessly obnoxious. Such a freaking unlikable character. I was almost wishing for her to just like perish somehow. I mean, there's so many ways to die in this book. Another thing about that, about the ways to die, is that nobody ever actually stays dead. Literally, like no one ever dies for real. Like they have temporary deaths and people are like, it's so sad. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, they're back because they have healing magic and they just it works on everybody. So what's the point? There's no stakes because everybody doesn't really die. It literally doesn't make any sense. Except when some people have to die because plot. Like Danica, she's really dead because she has to be dead. Although I wouldn't have been surprised if she came back alive, but she's actually the only person who freaking stays dead where she belongs. It's actually exhausting. I think every single main character is alive at the end. And it's like, okay, I mean, I'm not saying I want everyone to die. I'm not saying I like dark fantasies where you don't know who's going to end up alive and who's going to be dead, or like a Game of Thrones things where all your favorite characters are always killed off. But like, at what point are you just like, okay, this person jumped off a cliff and was shredded on the rocks below, but a mer person saved her and forced them to give her magic. And then it was like, well, she is alive now and fully healthy. It's like, okay, well, then that's moving on. That was like a plot point I really didn't like, but the actual plot overall, I will say I didn't hate it. Just so you don't think I'm just hating for no reason. I did not hate for no reason, but the plot overall was interesting, but sometimes I kind of felt like it read like one long book, which is not bad. It's just you have to read all three books. There is no missing one because it's the same thing running throughout, which I don't know why it was bothering me, but it just a little bit felt like I couldn't consume one book and be like, wow, that was a good book. I'm like, well, now I need the next one, which I guess good on her part 'cause she got a lot of people just to buy her books. Danica was the main plot point of all three of them as well. It's like you think the first one is it's all settled, right? She's figured out a lot of stuff. She's overcome all her challenges and figured out what happened to Danica, but Danica is still there throughout every single book, driving Bryce along. And basically, that just bothered me because if Danica had just been honest with her best friend and told her everything she knew, then Bryce wouldn't be like jumping through hoops trying to figure out what Danica was up to. I mean, maybe then Bryce would have gotten killed as well. But like, besides that, the whole Danica thing really pissed me off. It was so annoying. Like, Danica was such a bad best friend, but it starts off with like this whole friendship is supposed to be such a beautiful thing where they're so close and you can't even imagine anything better than that. They're just the best of friends. They're basically sisters. But Danica sucked as a best friend. She basically lied to Bryce about every single thing in her life, hid super major important things like the guy she was basically married to, who was her mate, who it says like if you have a mate, that is a lifelong like I love you forever, you are half of my soul. But Danica never told Bryce about her mate. It's like that's not a good friend. That's not a good friend. I would never ever want a friend like Danica. I will just say, basically tattooed a target on her back also and just made everybody come after her all the time. Now, a large part of this book is the fact that it's a romantasy, right? Which means romance, huge subplot, and spicy romance. But I gotta say, this might have been the worst part of it all. I mean, besides for the fact that every single character is exactly the same, which I also just could not stand, but the romance was so freaking bad. And it's supposed to be. I mean, it literally won the Goodreads Choice Award in 2024 for romantasy. I don't understand. I mean, there are other books out there with better romance, way better romance and fantasy. Like, I, there is a mosquito. Hold on. I lost it. I was going to kill it, but now it's too far away. But back to the spicy sins. Everyone does it the exact same way. Like, if there was just a scene with no characters, I would have no idea who's doing it with who, which is weird. Like, everybody doesn't do it the same way. People have different needs and wants and desires. Not everyone moves the same way or thinks the same way or wants the same things, but every single person in this book does. Maybe like occasionally like Rune, he has tattoos. That's his unique thing. He's got tattoos and piercings. So like he'll be like his tattoo or his piercing, and then you're like, "Oh, it's Rune. It's Rune. I knew that. I'm yeah." I legitimately think every single person was just described with dusky gold skin. Like, like I could be wrong. I go back and read it, but that's how it felt overall. Like every single person had dusky gold skin. But like even if I am wrong, that was the overall vibe, which I shouldn't have been feeling. That's on SJM. Like she wrote that, so I felt like every single person looked the same. I mean, like there's so many things I want to say about this, but I don't know the whole YouTube thing, if it's gonna get taken down if I say something inappropriate. In terms of getting demonetized, I got like under 20 subscribers. I don't really have monetization yet, but like everybody has the same physiological reaction, which okay, we all have bodies and they all react similarly, but like you're telling me that every single thing turns every single person on the exact same way? Because I just wouldn't assume that. Would you? Maybe. But it didn't read well, even if it is true. It was just like, ugh. Maybe it's just that I want to read a romantasy where there's like one couple that I'm following, but this was like everybody's nonstop doing it in the exact same way, and it was just felt like really boring after a time. And I don't want my scenes to be boring, but the whole romance, besides for the actual way that she wrote this spicy scenes, all the romance felt forced. Like I think Bryce and Hunt were supposed to be like an enemies to lovers things, but the fact that they were enemies in the beginning didn't make any sense. Bryce was just like super obnoxious to him, like I hate you for no reason. Bryce and Hunt to get together, but it doesn't really make any sense when it happens. Like it doesn't make any sense that she would hate him in the first place. He's just trying to help her find her best friend's murderer, and it's like, why are you being so obnoxious to him? Why are you literally being so cringe? She's like playing up this whole like coy, like I hate everyone and I'm a party girl and whatever, and it's like you suck so much. Like, no wonder Hunt hates you. Also, did I mention that every single character has an ample backside? I did say that, right? Because it's just, I still laugh about that. I mean, it's been like 2 days since I finished it. And I'm just like, what did I read? Bryce was a brat. Hunt and Bryce got together, and that didn't make any sense to me. And then Rune was like legitimately an enemies to lover with Lydia. Like, that made sense to me because that was actually enemies to lovers. But then it doesn't make sense how he falls in love with her. Like, it just kind of happens. He's just like, I love you. And it's like, wait, when did that happen? I don't get it. I just maybe everything just goes faster because they know the world's like ending and it's apocalypse and stuff like that. And you're like, well, everything's got to move faster. Didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. It happened way too quickly. I was trying to make this an actual like rant with an order and whatever, but I just keep thinking of all these things that really pissed me off. So I'm just tossing them in no particular order. Just little, like so many of the things bothered me also. It's like if you're double crossing people and trying to be a secret agent, would you show up to a meeting with your face fully uncovered and bare for everyone to know who you were? Be like, hey, like this is me. Now everybody could come against me because you know who I am. You could use it, the fact of my identity for against the people I love. And it's like, show up with a freaking mask. I was like literally just like, oh my God, it bothered me so much when okay, basically Bryce and her whole gang of people who just worship Bryce show up with the rebellion. I forgot what they're called. Ophion, right? And basically literally just not a single person is masking their face. And Agent Daybright, who was Lydia, who Rune got together with, made a big deal of how like nobody was supposed to know who she was. So I know that they know what like hiding your identity is. I know SJM actually has an idea what that means. So why didn't everyone hide their face? Could someone explain that to me, please? And Bryce has this whole like my power is convincing people of BS, but she never once does it. Never. They just talk about the fact that she can convince people, but she doesn't actually ever end up convincing people. Also, Hunt is supposed to be like one of the most powerful people, and like it always talks about it, but he never wins a single fight. Every single person he fights with always ends up being stronger than him. Every single person. And it's like, at what point am I supposed to believe like, oh yeah, this guy's super powerful. He's got lightning in his veins, except everyone else's powers are way stronger, or like he's in the water, so his lightning doesn't actually help. And it's like, it just doesn't make any logical sense. It makes no sense. Another thing that super bothered me about all the characters is that they're all, except Bryce, I guess, maybe Ethan, they're all super old. Like they all have immortality or like really immortality lifespans almost, which they just live for like a really freaking long time. One person's literally 15,000 years old, although she might be like the oldest person on the continent or something. They're all old and they all act like 15-year-olds. And it's like, they say they live a long time, not that they mature slowly. Like if they matured slowly, that'd be one thing, but it seems like they don't. Like Bryce is in her 20s and she's acting like, well, she's acting like a super bratty, annoying person I would never want to know, but like like a 20-year-old, I guess. But everybody else also acting like that, but they're like 200 years old. And it's like, if I was on Earth for that long, I would learn how to control my emotions better. I would know how to talk to people better, probably know how to manipulate people better also, because you actually understand human nature. Maybe it's good I don't live that long. But it just, in general, they are such teenagers, I guess. But it's not from, it's supposed to be from a teenage perspective. So how does that make sense? Like, just make their maturity levels match their age or at least be close to it. But it's not even the age gap that bothers me. Have the 20-year-old get together with the 200-year-old, but have the 200-year-old be a little bit more like, I mean, I'm going to reference Twilight right now, which is crazy. I don't know why why, but I feel like that actually made a little bit more sense. Like Edward was much older than Bella and he acted like it, protective figure, not father figure, that would be weird, but like he was a little bit like that. And yeah, that just there should be some of that, but this didn't have that at all. There was like, oh, Lydia was such a disgustingly immature baby. I was like, you have children and you've been she actually was relatively young. She was like in her 40s, I think. But when she gets together with Rue and she immediately just turns into like a simpering little child. And it's like, did not like that. Bryce is a bad friend too, by the way. Maybe she deserved Danica because she never shares details of her plan with anyone. She goes behind everyone's back all the time, just doing her own thing, and everything always ends up working out. But you're always like, but why? Bryce is supposed to be super smart, but she does not actually. She just like it's just written like everything works out for her. But you don't doesn't actually make sense that she would be that smart. The only thing that I actually liked about Bryce is that she's supposed to be a sharpshooter and she is a pretty good shot, which made sense. Has a backstory and she's good at it. I don't normally read books that everybody's talking about, like not on purpose, but because I borrow books from the library. And when you borrow books from the library, you're not necessarily getting the books everyone else is reading. But I really just wanted a series that people spoke about that hoped was good and that had a series for my honeymoon. So like I did some research and people liked this a lot before I got it. And so when I got it for my honeymoon, I was like, okay, great. And I read it and I hated it. And then I did some research again because whenever I feel strongly after a book, I'm like, I must search Reddit. And people hated it. And I was like, what happened? Why didn't I see these comments beforehand? That doesn't make any sense. These were 3 books that were really freaking long, took so much of my time, but I can't say I enjoyed that time well spent. Like I spent a lot of it grumbling over how stupid everyone was. But maybe if those are the type of books you like to read, then give Crescent City a shot. But don't come complaining to me when you're like crying at the end over how annoying everyone freaking is. It was kind of fun reading a book though that people had so much to talk about because a lot of the books that I like nobody's really talking about, which is the whole reason why I created this channel in the first place. I want to talk about the books I'm reading that nobody's talking about. No idea what I'm going to read next, but I kind of need like a reset after that. If you liked this freaking rant about this super sucky book series, then give this a thumbs up. If you love this book so much and you're so pissed off at me that I could ever say anything bad about it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know why you like the book in the comments. Or just give it a thumbs down if you just hated this video. And then let me know why in the comments. Thank you. Subscribe. Did I say subscribe already? But yeah, subscribe please, because I really want to grow this channel and talk about books. Thanks. The end.